Norman Maslov over on his channel just put out a recent video entitled something to the effect of 10 terrible albums by artists that I love. And he said that he was challenged actually by a friend of our channel, Todd, over at Lost Mixtapes. Mazzy says he was challenged by Todd to do this video. And then in turn, in his video, Mazzy challenged the rest of us, if we felt like it, to pick our own 10. I greatly admire both of those channels. I love those two channels. So I was inspired. And there's plenty of bad albums by artists I love. So let's get into it. Hey guys, welcome to Amity Tracks. And welcome to 10 terrible albums by artists that I love. Let's just get right into it. They're in no particular order. Let's just talk about them. I love the Kinks. Now, we haven't done a Kinks week yet. That is definitely on the horizon. I've been trying to save some of these great, artists, spread them out a little bit. So, one of my favorite bands, but we have not done the Kinks yet. But this is a terrible album. Now, Mazzy picked, so it's a different one than Mazzy picked in his, although it's kind of from the same era of the Kinks. I won't spoil his video. You go watch his video, which one he picked. But I picked one around the same time period. This is Think Visual. For one, horrendous artwork. Look at that. Look at that. 1986 sounds every bit 86. Although, I love the 80s. I love the 80s. But some of these legacy acts, I say legacy acts, some of these acts that have been around for a while, going into the 80s, had some issues adjusting, I think. Now, here's the thing with the Kinks. Every Kinks album, even their horrible ones, there's just a few, have at least one gem in there. One gem. And this does too. Lost and Found, I think, is a beautiful, gorgeous song. I love that song. Unfortunately, that's the only song on here that I think is worthwhile. I think it's poorly written, poorly produced, poorly recorded, poorly, whatever. I mean, with as many albums as the Kinks have, you can't hit them all, right? I also love this group, this super group. But I will also say, I don't know, maybe close to half of their output's not great. Yet what I love, I love. I don't love this. 1988, Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young, American Dream. The four of them, their last studio effort was Deja Vu, 1970. And we got to wait 18 years for this garbage. Whew, is bad. Even these guys say this is bad. Whenever you bring this album up, Neil Young's phoning it in. I mean, this is fourth tier Neil songs that he gives here. Was it Name of Love, This Old House, Feel Your Love? Just lazy stuff. Neil's responsible for the title track, which is somewhat witty and interesting. Now, like I said on the Kinks album, I think there's one keeper on here. There is one song that I really, really love. It's Got It Made, which is actually it was written by Stills and Young, but it's sung by Stills, so I characterize it as a Stills song. That's a great song, but other than that, man, of course, this was part of David Crosby's big comeback. He had gotten out of jail, uh, gone through a lot of health scares, and Compass was his big, song looking back on his travails, and it's just uh, it just kind of sinks in its own weight. Um, yeah, bad record, and they had 18 years to get this thing ready. Oh, one other thing, Driving Thunder. Before I praise Stills too much, it's fairly generic rocker. Stills kind of lumbers up to you know, play a decent guitar solo, but nothing that's gonna you're gonna remember years and years later. But somewhere in the liner notes, he he dedicates the solo to Jimi Hendrix. Like, what the hell is that? Yeah, whatever. All right. Did I say Steven Stills? I did say Steven Stills, didn't I? I love Steven Stills. Steve Stills is one of my favorite guitar players when his vocals were good. I loved his singing. He could write amazing songs. I'm gonna do a Stills video, but yeah, it's gonna be interesting. When I do the Stills video, you're gonna see me complaining about Stills most of the time because he often does not live up to his potential. I could have picked a ton of terrible Steven Stills records, but hey, how about this one? I mean, look at the album art. And what is this? It's like Stills, some other dude on this huge, I don't know, speedboat or something. What does that have to do with? I don't know. I mean, everything Stills does great. Playing acoustic guitar, playing this raw electric guitar. It's just drowned in synths and programming, and he has to get Jimmy Page to play a solo on 50/50, although it is kind of a cool solo. But yeah, terrible, terrible. All right, another great guitar player, but not a great album. How about Jeff Beck? Flash. Everything I've shown so far is from the 80s. I love the 80s, but some of these some of these artists just weren't at their best in the 80s. This was 85. Um there he is. I guess trying to stay relevant. Here's the thing with Jeff Beck. Unless it's Rod Stewart, the more vocals Beck has on his albums, the less good the albums are. Okay. And he just has a lot of just kind of generic singers here. I guess this Jimmy Hall, I don't know who that is, but sings most of the vocals here. Just sort of a generic 80s, you know, hair metal guy. I don't know. I don't know. It's not great. Um, there is that People Get Ready. It was kind of a hit where Rod Stewart comes and sings. It's nice. It's nice. But that's by far the best thing on here. I love Jeff Beck, but give me instrumental Jeff Beck all day long. I don't need a vocalist crowding his guitar sings, especially like 80s stuff like, oh, here's something. Love this band. I'm a defender of this band. We're going to do a week on this band at some point where I'm going to be defending them to death. But any record by this band that starts with the words songs of is bad. Songs of innocence, songs of experience, and songs of surrender. U2. So easy to bash. I love U2 though, but whenever a band has to revisit their own songs, the well is dry. And you're going to do a double album, or even better yet, you want the CD version? 4 CDs, 4 discs of mostly snooze-worthy, just sort of mellow, acoustic, lazy versions, dorm room versions of, sitting with your acoustic guitar. Uh, Awful, awful. You're going to give 4 CDs or 2 LP versions of this thing? I mean, you got so much material on here, some of it works. It kind of has to. But I don't know. I'm not going to go dig through it again to remember which ones do work. Terrible. Do not, please, guys, do not name your next album songs of something. Let's move on from the songs of. Okay. The rest are going to be CDs because, the rest of these I didn't even bother to go find vinyl versions of this because I'm not going to pay money for this garbage. I love ZZ Top. I'm a defender of ZZ Top. even in their not prime period. But I cannot defend this trash. Triple X or 30. This was put out to celebrate their 30th anniversary. Whenever as a band, whenever as in the 90s, late 90s. It's hard to read. A 99, I guess. Just sludge, just slow, sludgy, lazy riffage. None of that. Just really distinct, fun, riffs that Billy Gibbons can come. None of this is memorable. I don't know. Dreadmon Boogaloo is all right, I guess. And then they couldn't even come up with a full album of studio stuff, so they yeah, last 4 tracks are live, and those suck too. That's the bottom of the barrel for ZZ Top there. All right, coming out here. How about Peter Gabriel with Ovo? Now, I did a Peter Gabriel week fairly recently where I kind of railed on this, and I told this story. When I first bought this, I was angry. I was angry. This was so bad, and I sold it back. And then, being the completist I am, I had to go find it again, and so it's still pretty bad. Now, I am going to say there's a couple of highlights here. There's a couple of tracks. The Nest That Sailed the Sky, which is an instrumental, I think is stunningly gorgeous. What else is decent here? Um, Tower That Ate People. That's pretty cool. That's it. That's it. So here's the deal. This was Peter Gabriel put this together. This was for the Millennium show in England. I don't know the story behind it, but it's kind of like a soundtrack thing. So it's not. So Peter Gabriel kind of wrote most of all of this stuff, and he put it together. But he only sings on some of it, and there's some guest artists singing on some of this other stuff, and none of them are memorable. There's even a rap on here, which is terrible. Um, yeah, this is bad. Okay. Oh, you know what else is bad? I'll tell you what else is bad. The Who, Endless Wire. This is bad. This is the only Who album I refuse to buy on vinyl because I refuse to honor it with vinyl. So yeah, I'm just gonna keep the CD. This was 2006. Yeah, 2006. Oh, anything good in here? No, not really. Uh, oh, Mike Post theme, I guess, is all right. It's a dumb title though. This is just terrible. This is terrible. This, you know, I love Pete Townshend's vocals, but even here, what's that song in the ether? Oh, I think it is. No, or Man in the I don't remember. No, in the ether, I think. Where Townsend like does Tom Waits or something. Is that what his voice is? Was that on purpose, or has his voice just gotten that bad? I don't. This is terrible. So they put one record out after this. Who I have on vinyl. That's actually a decent send off if that is the last one. I'm glad they did that because this is awful, terrible, terrible. Okay, I saved my 2 favorite artists for the last. Um, Todd over at Lost Mixtapes picked a Springsteen album, but not this one. Not this one. And again, I won't spoil his video, so you have to go watch his video to see which one he picked. But he said his pick he thought was the worst one, and he made some good arguments. I think this is worse than the one he picked. Although he did mention this in passing. Working on a Dream. One, the Velvet Bruce cover. The hell is that? This is this is awful. This is terrible. Outlaw Pete opens. It's like 8 minute, like I don't know, trying to reclaim that kind of 70s epics like Jungle Land or whatever, or Incident on 57th Street or Rosalita. These kind of long, but it's dull. It's boring. Like the single was My Lucky Day, which was Bruce by numbers, in the 2000s at least. Uh, Working on a Dream. It's nothing. Is there anything good on here? Life itself, actually, I thought was all right. That's probably it, though. Oh, they put The Wrestler on here as a bonus track. That was pretty good. But it even says bonus track, so it's not really supposed to be part of the album. You know, that was a song he did for the film The Wrestler. It's actually a really nice song. But, you know, it's tacked on at the end as a bonus track. Queen of the Supermarket. Maybe the worst Springsteen song I've ever heard. It's so, like, lyrically, it's so bad. It's like a parody of Springsteen lyrically. But it is Springsteen. But I don't know if he's aware that it's like a parody. It's so bad. So bad. We got to end with Neil Young. You know, I mean, Neil Young, you got to admit, he's my favorite artist. I love Neil Young, but most of this century has been not good for Neil Young. You know, thank God he's putting out the archives releases. Those have been amazing. I'm talking about like his albums of new material. Now, there's a few gems in there. Like I love Linois. What else did I really love that's come out this century? Fork in the Road, I thought was kind of fun. I'm just going off the top of my head here, so I might be some of his more recent ones he's done with the kind of reformed Crazy Horse with Nils Lofgren. Hey, those have been all right. Those have been all right. But generally speaking, it's been a lot of bad albums. If you go watch my Neil Young week, where we did this epic Neil Young countdown, where I ranked his albums. This, I believe, if I remember right, I didn't even go back and check, but I'm pretty sure this is what I put in last place. Story Tone. I hate this record. Oh, love Neil Young, but I hate this record. It's his orchestral record. You know, so he wanted to make a whole record with an orchestra. That's fine. I just think these are like so much of his material in this century. These are half-baked songs. I mean, none of them stand out like at all. I guess When I Watch You Sleeping, if I had to pick one song, I think is kind of nice. I guess that one, but it's just dull. It's you know, he had just gotten into his relationship with Daryl Hannah, so you know a lot of I'm glad I found you. I don't know, just not exciting at all. Not exciting at all. All right, those are my 10 terrible albums by artists that I generally love. So anyway, I'll just move the challenge along. You guys out there with channels, let put these videos out. It'll be fun to watch. If you don't have a channel, in the comments, what are some terrible albums by artists that you love? So let's talk terrible albums. All right, in the comments. So anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Please do subscribe to the channel. It really helps us out. Hit the bell for notifications. Share the videos. Like the videos. All of that is great. And we'll see you next time on Amity Tracks.